I'm Todd Bookspan, and welcome to your neighborhood real estate show. The hyperlocal real estate show where real estate professionals talk about the neighborhood you live in or the neighborhood you want to live in. This episode is brought to you by homebuyeruniversity.net, your free comprehensive guide to buying or refinancing your home. Click over to homebuyeruniversity.net to get started online today. Hey everyone, I'm Todd Bookspan and welcome to your neighborhood real estate show, Warner Ranch Edition. I'm so excited to be joined by Brooke Bogart. Welcome, Brooke.
Thank you.
All right, so give us a real quick background on you, and you got a unique background. So give us a little history on you and real estate and how that fits in the mix.
Thank you. Well, I graduated with a degree in architecture, practiced architecture.
What every real estate agent has done.
It was great. Loved it. Practiced architecture for about a decade. Designed some really cool buildings around the valley.
Which is really neat. Like not just like little things, like big things.
It's really neat. And it's kind of fun to drive the kids by and be like, that was mine.
Did it have a plaque out front with your name on it?
No, it's with the firm that I worked for.
All right.
I know.
That's okay.
But it was very cool. And I ended up on kind of the front edge of sustainability. Because back then when I graduated from college, nobody really knew about building sustainability and integrating general sustainability in the practice. And LEED was just at its forefront, LEED standing for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design.
I always wondered what that stood for.
That's what it stands
I knew
for.
it meant environmental, but I didn't know exactly.
Yeah, it stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. And we certified the very, very first building in Phoenix that was LEED certified.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was really, really neat. So after that, when my oldest daughter was born, I started a green building consulting practice where I could help other architects, designers, and contractors build sustainable buildings. And we certified a lot of buildings in the valley.
That's kind of fun.
It was really fun.
And after a while, that got boring, or what happened?
Oh, I got remarried, and I don't know, I just stumbled into real estate, and I found a passion for it because I think maybe my passion for sustainability grew into just a passion for helping people.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so I find it so much more fulfilling to be able to help individuals and families move from one phase of life into another. I mean, we move literally, we move figuratively.
Yeah.
So I do. I truly find joy in what I do.
And you work with Keller Williams,
Yes,
East
I
Valley.
do. I do.
What tell everyone a little bit about where I know you're Warner Ranch, so we're going to talk about in a minute, but you focus in Southeast Valley, where
The
kind of
whole
talk through.
Southeast Valley, yeah.
So define that for someone who doesn't know what the Southeast Valley is, who's listening from some other state.
So we do, obviously we're in Tempe, South Tempe. So we'll do South Tempe, we do Chandler, we do parts of Phoenix. Phoenix is an enormous city.
It is.
So it is a little tricky to say you do Phoenix because Phoenix can be 40 miles away. But we do parts of Phoenix, like a Levine area, an Ahwatukee area, South Mountain kind of area, Phoenix. So we do have kind of neighborhoods in Phoenix that we focus on. Gilbert, Chandler, Mesa, Scottsdale. We even go out to Queen Creek and Santan Valley. There's some great homes getting built out there. We are kind of sneaking into some construction sites. I love construction sites. The architect in me can't help.
Oh, I was going to say, we all have different things we get nerdy about. I
love construction sites.
All right, so talk about Warner Ranch. So why Warner Ranch? Where's Warner Ranch? Like, give a little bit of detail on that.
So Warner Ranch is a neat community. It's not quite a square mile. It's almost a square mile between Ray and Warner and Rural and Kyrene. And the interesting part of Warner Ranch is most of it is South Tempe, and there's a small corner that turns into Chandler. So every year we host a big block party, it's GAIN, the block party that's hosted by the city of Tempe, getting Arizona involved in neighborhoods. And my little Chandler corner always says, are we allowed to come since we're not in Tempe? But yeah, I mean, we do it for the whole neighborhood. So we're very, very involved and very committed to helping the Warner Ranch neighborhood survive and thrive and really be well.
And what are average price, or like what a price range of homes in that area?
We have a whole range of homes because we've got some little patio homes that are kind of connected duplexes, and those are kind of in the 2s. And then we go all the way up to, the 6s.
So it's a big wide range.
It is a big range. We've got some very, very large homes in the neighborhood. And in our square mile, we have a couple areas that are not really part of Warner Ranch because they're in the square mile. They're very much part of our neighborhood. So we have kind of a swatch of custom homes, and then we've got a little swatch of horse properties too within that square mile, which are really, really neat.
That's really interesting. And amenity-wise, it's got everything, schools and shopping.
We have an elementary school right in the middle of it, and surrounding the elementary school, we've got 2 city parks. So in that square mile, not only do we have 2 full city parks, but we've got the elementary school parks and just green belts that kind of weave through the whole neighborhood.
Yeah, that's the thing. I've been there a handful of times, and I'm always taken back by greenbelts are always just such a nice change when we go from community to community, and they're oftentimes not green.
Right. Yeah, no, we've seen a lot of communities where the green belts are actually, dirt belts or gravel belts. But ours are truly green belts. We really do have grass on either side. And so when our kids learn how to ride their bikes and they wipe out, they do wipe out in grass.
Yeah, that's much better.
It is much better than wiping out in gravel.
What, for those who aren't familiar, the market here right now, inventory is really tight.
Oh, absolutely.
And so how are you advising people who are looking to buy homes to be prepared for such a tight inventory market?
Well, we do a lot. When our buyers are looking to buy and we know it's very competitive, especially in certain price ranges, it's super hard to get a house because you're up against multiple offers at this time. So we make sure they're extremely prepared with their financing and getting pre-qualified, and their numbers are all in line and we know that they can afford to buy the home. Sometimes we'll make kind of an aggressive offer. So if a list price is where it is, we might go a little bit more aggressively than that list price. We've also found a lot of success in personalized letters. So when our buyers write a letter and they include photos of themselves and they tell a story about why this house in particular resonates with them and is meaningful to them, that's sometimes very, very meaningful to sellers.
Well, I mean, people who've lived in their home want someone else to live in their home as well, right?
Yeah. And well, I know, we sell houses, our sellers will review the letters. And we had a house that we were selling just last year and we got multiple offers on it. Everyone and their brother wanted to come buy this house. And we kept referring to the one family and they didn't make a great offer, which was so sad because we couldn't accept their offer. We kept calling them the nice family. We were like, maybe something will happen and the nice family will get it, because we were rooting for them. We were rooting for them because of their amazing letter. So amazing letters really do make a difference.
Yeah, I always found that I had family members who were buying a home, and when they were coming to view it, the owner was leaving and they had a couple offers, and she had told her agent, I want the family with those 2 girls in my home. I thought that was super, super cool that they, over, I mean, all things considered, right?
Yeah.
I mean, someone wants the most money they can get for the
Absolutely.
home, but certainly if they can also feel good about it too.
But if it's comparable and it's, the same numbers across the board, why not pick the family that you want in the house for sure? So
you say you're getting your buyers prepared. So what are you doing, an initial consultation with them, or what does that look like?
We do. We always sit down in our office before we start shopping, and we'll talk about what their wants are, what their needs are, what their goals are, if there are school districts they want to be in, if there are areas they want to focus on. Sometimes we have to go a little beyond the parameters of the area. Sometimes we'll change parameters a little bit. You definitely don't want a pool, but maybe a pool would be okay.
Right.
So we kind of go through all the different options, and then we start on the computer. And we start by looking at things, and they'll tell me what they like, what they don't like. I want a bedroom near this one. I want a bedroom far apart. And then we'll start shopping at the homes.
So that's different, because oftentimes I talk to buyers and they're like, oh, I don't want to go sit in an office. I just want to go start looking at houses. Yeah. So how do you overcome that objection? Well,
people like to talk about what their dreams and hopes and goals are. Sometimes we'll start in a house. It's not typical that we always start in my office. Sometimes we'll start in a house and I'll say, let's go look at this house. And they'll tell me, gosh, I don't like this house and here's why. And then from the house, we go back to my office.
So it all comes back to that.
And then we sit down and talk about what you really want, because you didn't like the house we just went wandering into because you saw it on the computer. And once we really understand what your dreams and hopes and goals are, then we can find the right home for you. And then we make a really aggressive offer to make sure you do get it.
Well, I think that's, I just love that, because I think that's so critical that someone has a great experience. I mean, it's, we do this every day, but they don't do it, but maybe once or twice or 3 times in their life. And it can be a great experience or not a great experience. I love the fact that you have that consultation.
Well, that's true. I glossed over it because it really is way more in depth than that. I mean, we talk about financing, we talk about the process, we talk about inspections and appraisal. I mean, we sit down, I've got kind of a flow chart where we talk, from day one, here's what we're doing today. Then we get the pre-qualification. Then we walk our way through the whole process because I want them to know what's coming. We talk about ballpark prices. How much is an inspector going to charge? How much is an appraisal going to cost you?
Eliminate the surprise element.
Exactly. And you got to know how much money you need in your bank account.
That too.
Sometimes people are eking by to buy a house. And I just don't want any surprises as we go through the initial process of, oh my gosh, an inspector's expensive.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So flip the coin then for a second to listings, right? So I know
Yeah.
you do a lot of listings as
We do.
well. And it seems like it's a good time to be a seller because you just said that there's lots of offers out there. So
Mhm.
so walk through, how are you preparing your clients who are going to sell their homes, like, to be ready for that frenzy?
It is a great time to be a seller. What we find is if we hit the market well initially upfront with just the house is perfect, it's pristine, it's updated, multiple offers off the bat. If there are things that are not perfect, not pristine, the buyers are seeing it in this market. Even in our crazy market of everybody with multiple offers, they're seeing it. So we try to make sure that we check all of the boxes off before we hit the market live. I was looking at your grass wall.
It's very nice, isn't it? It's sustainable.
Well, and it reminds me of a house that we sold last year, and the buyers were coming through and they were loving the house, but the house backed to an industrial area. And everybody who loved the house said, oh, I love it. I'd make an offer, but there's this industrial thing behind the house and it makes me nervous. And really, my sellers who lived there were like, we never hear anything from the industrial area. They take care of their own stuff. But we built a little vine in the backyard. So they went through their fence and they kind of attached us and it went a little bit higher. If we didn't sell that house immediately, the second that vine went up, it was incredible. But we try to address what the challenge is and find an innovative and cheap solution to try to resolve it as quickly as we can to get the most money as possible for our sellers.
Well, and you said, right, the condition of the home. So you're comfortable letting someone know, hey, this is what you can do to improve the price, and this is going to be a challenge.
Absolutely. And we have a house right now that we're selling that's got a solar array on the top of it. And sometimes it's hard to get buyers to understand really the value associated with a solar array that's owned, not leased. There's a huge value associated with it. So we're going to be providing graphics that are going to go throughout the house.
All right, so walk us through it, because there's people listening who have no idea what you're talking about. So in Arizona, we can get solar panels and you can either buy them or lease them. So walk through.
So moments like this, all of my careers align. I can say, yay! So Arizona, and I don't know if it's true anymore, but back when I was in college, we used to say that if we covered every single rooftop in Arizona with solar, we could power the entire United States of America. We have that much solar radiation in the state of Arizona.
It's crazy, but I'm not surprised when it's 115 out.
It is incredible how much energy we can generate from the sun here. And to this day, it makes me a little bit sad that every rooftop is not covered with solar. But leases are a little different than purchases. A solar lease is a company that will come out and will basically like leasing a car. They'll say, we're going to put a solar panel on the rooftop of your house and you pay us for the energy that you generate on your rooftop instead of paying the utility company. So we'll be paying a monthly payment to for the solar company instead of paying it to the utility company, and you'll have two bills every month. The challenge with that is when it's time to sell your home, the solar lease will typically go with the sale of the home. So if you qualified like you would qualify for a car lease, your buyer of your home now has to qualify.
Yep, and assume that lease.
Exactly. Now, it's not true for every company, because there are some solar companies that are just like, what's his name? Okay, good. Because we have had that experience and it's been fabulous.
And I've heard every once in a while of people moving it, but that just seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, and they will. They will move it. There are a whole bunch of things that you can do with a solar lease, but the most common is to transfer it to the new buyer.
But you're a fan of people who own their equipment.
I'm a fan of people who own the equipment because it's a lot easier to sell. There's no transferring of leases. There's no qualifying for anything. It comes with the house. It generates electricity. It reduces your electric load from the get-go. During the hours that the sun is shining, you're basically off grid.
Yeah. Just, as I say, like minting money, but it's not quite like that.
Kind of,
Something along those lines.
And, I don't want to get into the details of the utility companies, but there are all sorts of programs the utility companies used to have, some don't have, some do have. So you've got to kind of look at the different programs the utility companies have. And if they're grandfathered into an older program, there's some nice benefits that come with that too.
That's interesting. So one of the other things with listings that's become prominent, especially here in Arizona, where we've got these, what they call iBuyers. I know through Keller Williams, you're a Keller Williams offers certified specialist. There's probably some correct name that I'm not using.
What is it? It's called Keller Offers.
Keller Offers.
Yeah, you had it.
So you're certified for Keller Offers.
I am. I'm a certified Keller Offer.
So what does that mean? Because I think people they hear this term iBuyer, they hear Keller Offer. How does that What is it and how's it different from what's traditionally being done?
Well, I'm a big fan of it as an option. You see the open doors and the offer pads, and a lot of my clients, if they're out and looking at homes to buy and it happens to be an open door home, I'll say just, walk up to the door and go on in, because I'm still going to represent them and help them negotiate and get the best deal on the house. But that's kind of what some buyers want, or some sellers want. Some sellers just want out. And there are lots of reasons why a seller would want out. But when you're dealing with a large company like an open door, you don't have any representation. I mean, how many times a year in their lifetime do people buy and sell homes?
Not often.
Not often. And I do this all day long, every day as my career, as do other realtors. And so to have somebody who does this all day long, every day, holding your hand through the process of selling it to an iBuyer, through selling it to Keller offers, I can negotiate, I can explain the details of the contract. They have representation. And you could still be out of a house in 2 weeks. Obviously, you're not going to get as much money as you would get if you did it the traditional way. But if there are lots of reasons why you would want to move, let's say you've got a job in another state and you have to be there. Many, many reasons why you've got to be out of a house quickly, and you're prepared to take a reduction in how much money you're going to make.
So when you're going to help someone sell their home, that is an option. They'll get the most money if they let you list it the traditional way and put it on the open market, but then you'll also help them if they want to go through one of these iBuyer type companies or Keller offers, get a cash offer so they can determine if that's a viable option for them.
Absolutely. And then you just look at the number and compare it and decide what you want to do.
Yeah, it's always interesting because I often find that without representation, when I talk to a client, they later regret the sale that they made because they are second guessing whether or not was that an appropriate offer for the home or not.
Yeah. And we can look at all of the options across the board. What would we call it retail, what would a retail sale be directly to a buyer versus to the iBuyer?
Right, which is kind of wholesale, right? Because they're going to turn around and they're going to do the repairs that the seller may not want to do. Why would someone want to take the cash offer besides, you said, maybe moving somewhere else just to maybe keep people from trouncing through their house for open houses and stuff like that?
Yeah, maybe they've got newborn baby and they don't want to have people in the house. Maybe they've got a lot of repair work ahead of them. They just don't have the cash to do the repair work.
Or a big dog.
Or a big dog.
All right, so we talked about Warner Ranch, we talked about buyers and sellers, and then cash offers. What else should we add? Is there something that we missed?
I don't know.
Beautiful architecture.
There's so much beautiful architecture around.
So if someone wanted to go look in the Phoenix metro area, where would you send them to look?
I would send them to the Biltmore.
Oh, yeah. That's beautiful.
It is
Frank
beautiful.
Lloyd Wright, right?
It was Frank Lloyd Wright, yeah. He was kind of not a nice guy, but he has some beautiful architecture.
I won't ask about that today.
We heard a story in architecture school, and again, I don't even know if this is true, that Gamage was one of his palaces that he had designed for the Middle East. And he was a fan of just pulling a set of drawings off the shelf and being like, here it is.
Oh, that's wild. I was just at Gamage last week.
Yeah.
It was interesting too, because if you've been to Gamage, they had a bathroom shortage. And so it was a big deal to add on bathrooms because they didn't want to wreck the Frank Lloyd Wright.
Right.
So, all right. Well, you never know when we sit down for these conversations where they're going to go. I love the fact that we covered so much, and I want to thank you for taking time. If someone wanted to learn more about you or reach out to you, what website would they go to? What's a good phone number to reach you?
I've got a website at Look to Brooke. It's the number 2. So LOOK, the number 2, and then BROOKE.com is my website. You can browse homes. You can check the price of your home on it. You have a little information about me. I like to, instead of having pictures of homes on my website, I've got some of those, but I do have a lot of clients because I feel like it's really about the people.
Oh, I love that.
That's really important to me.
All right, we'll put that in the show notes below. Thank you so much, Brooke Bogart with Keller Williams Realty, for being here on Your Neighborhood Real Estate Show. We'll see you guys on the next episode.
Thank you. Yay!
This episode is brought to you by homebuyeruniversity.net, your free comprehensive guide to buying or refinancing your home. Click over to homebuyeruniversity.net to get started online today.